All right, good afternoon, everybody. How are you guys doing? All right,
Can't see it, right bigger.
All right, one more time. How are you guys doing? Okay, all right. Huh? What, are you offering to give away some of yours, Tuna? Alrighty, so we got some giveaways real quick here. We got a BlackBerry winter hat. Anybody wants it? All right, loudest person. One more time. All right, who is the guy with the whistle in the front? All right, get it to him. Get that to Marco. Thank you. All right, now we got a T-shirt. Would you model this for us, you fucking hick? All right, Security University T-shirt. All right, for funniest sign for the T-shirt. Hold it up. Your mom says hi. That's a fail. What does the one all the way in back say?
Something, please.
Something, please. Okay, he asked nicely. Let's get it to him.
Free T-shirt.
Free T-shirt. All right, and then one more for whoever Romer wants to get it. All right, cool. All right, and then the manga guide to databases, and I have no idea what I should do to give this one away. Who said they had whiskey? All right, to the guy who said they had whiskey, I'll settle up with you later tonight. Huh? No, not tonight. I'm working, dude. I'm working here. Okay, so we got some announcements. If you have lost or first of all,
where's Dave Marcus at?
Huh?
Where's Dave Marcus?
Is Dave Marcus in the audience?
Dave, you out here?
He got really, really wasted really early last night.
Where's my Jaeger? Oh, he's not going to live this one down.
Anybody with Jägermeister? It's coming. Okay, it's on its way. I got some announcements. Lost and Found is at registration. You guys know if you're not planning on attending the party tonight, please turn in your wristbands if you have them to registration, just so that other people who want to go to the party can get a chance to. T-shirts are also still available at registration. Get them before they sell out. Hack Fortress, if you signed up yesterday, come check the round times outside of the Hack Fortress room. And don't forget to be sure to check out the silent auction at the Hackers for Charity booth. They're selling ShmooCon limited edition T-shirts and amazing Ugandan coffee and chai. If you're a speaker, please stop by for your free shirt. One last announcement, we have parking passes available if you've parked at the hotel. Just show up at registration, and that's the end of my announcements. Again, real quick, please don't watch the Ustream from the con. For some reason, it breaks the con. I tried to ask for a technical explanation, but all I got was just tell them, please ask them not to do it. But we are going to be asking, I am going to be relaying questions for anybody who is watching the Ustream right now. We should be live and streaming. And without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Ben Smith. Round of applause. He is my fellow unallocated space member, and if you have any time after con, please come up and check out Unallocated Space. So now let's have a round of applause for Ben and Unallocated Space. Bigger this time. Ben, Printer's Gone Wild, take it away.
Nick fucking Farr, everybody.
I didn't embarrass you too much, did I?
That's nothing. Exactly. Do you see what I have to deal with on a regular basis? All right, so printers. Wonderful devices, turn data into paper. Kind of fun, kind of interesting. My friends, everybody. You see what I'm getting already? Who needs enemies when you've got them? So, HP, massive fucking company. They happen to build printers. They're kind of ubiquitous. You find them all over the place. My badge did manage to make it into that particular picture. And found in everyday places. Look familiar, anyone? Like hotel registration, maybe? So this leads to really fun things, like strange error messages. So the funny thing about printers is most of your printers, they're these poorly secured black boxes on your internet with full computing capabilities that everyone just kind of seems to ignore. Like, hey, we plugged it in, it works, we're not going to fuck with it further. So, quick refresh for those of you in the audience that drink from the cup of management.
I drink from the cup of two girls.
There's a single cup there, right? So you got your basic enterprise HP printers. They listen on port 9100 TCP. You got your admin page on 80 or 443. Most have SNMP support. The funny thing about most of these devices is they have disks. And either they take a part of the RAM and they turn it into a RAM disk, or some of the MFPs have physical hard disks. And this is where it kind of gets interesting. You got your device security options. There's really three types of passwords. You've got your HP admin password. You've got your telnet password. They're typically the same. Shut up. Typically the same as the web admin. It really depends on the model number. It depends on the firmware, so on and so forth. You got the PPGL password for secure jobs, and we'll kind of go into a little bit more on that later. What's kind of interesting about the PPGL password is that you can actually sit there and, I hate you. This is all your fault. Speak up. All right, fine. Is this better? All right. So you got your PPGL password. You can actually go ahead and lock the disks in a read-only mode. What's really funny, by default, they're read-write. I have no idea why they allow this. When you do that, you can't write any more files to them. You can also lock out the control panel. Kind of funny things, nothing overly new. There's a major problem, though, with the PPGL password. It's really, really, really weak. 1 to 65,535. I can sit there and try it all day. It doesn't care. So, what's really fun and what I found really interesting when I started getting into all of this, HP's own documentation, the disk lock command, it says it only locks disk 0. So if you've got more than one, great. So I can lock the first one, and I can't lock the other ones. I ran into a slight issue when I was trying to test this, just because I didn't have enough devices that actually had more than one disk. I will eventually verify that this is the way it is. But yeah, that's kind of funny. There's also something really, really strange. There's an SNMP backdoor on all these devices. So you can go into the admin panel. You can turn off SNMP, or SNMP, sorry. They no longer respond on port 161, and yet you can still issue SNMP commands to these devices over TCP 9100. You just have to encode them specially. They'll still respond to you all day long. It's kind of awesome because PPGL is just this great unauthenticated protocol. In fact, somebody was just telling me that this is actually going away, but these devices are still going to be on networks for years to come. Keep in mind that your large MFP devices have 40 gig hard drives, sometimes larger. Your typical smaller network printers will give you 20 megs to 30 megs, though newer ones will give you 200 to 300. Just remember that part of it. What's great about this is your space adds up quickly. What's really neat about storing stuff on the RAM disk, you reboot the printer, poof, it all magically goes away, bye-bye forensic evidence. So, once again, yeah, there you go. Favorite slide. A little bit of backdoor action. SNMP over PPGL is not a hack, but it's actually a documented feature. They actually decided that this was a good idea. If you go to Google and put that search string in, you might find an interesting document that talks all about this. So, working with PB&J, you happy, Tara? Quick story, as I'm running through my slides last night, panicking, trying to get everything ready. She's sitting here the entire time telling me to use PPJ instead of PPGL. Yeah, friends. Peanut butter jelly time. Yeah, Dave, did you show up with my Jaeger yet? I guess not. He's sober, ladies and gentlemen. So, once again, real quick overview. I've been talking about PPGL. I should probably just tell you what it stands for. It stands for Printer Job Language. Used to set up a printer for a given print job, set internal variables, printer languages, PCL, PostScript, so on and so forth, created by HP, used by some 40 or so odd manufacturers. So I'm usually kind of picking on them right now. I suspect this will work on other ones. I just don't have the devices to test with. It's really, really old. Most of the stuff I'm working with is from 97 to 2000, at least in terms of documentation. But I've got no idea when they actually started using it. So, real quick, fun upload commands. The FS upload, which is actually really strange because you're actually uploading from the printer to your device, not the other way around. Download, you're downloading from your computer to the device. Delete, remove files, the ready message. Obviously, we've all messed with the LCD hacks at some point. DM info ASCII hex. Remember when I was talking about the SNMP backdoor? Yeah, really, really fun, useful command. What's really interesting is you don't need a SNMP string at all. You can sit there and send that all day long. I'm a firm believer in, at least tipping my hat to those who have gone before me. So real quick, we had the chai VM hack, which actually allowed you to actually run commands on it. Phenolit hijetter, I remember messing around with this and having great fun. Change settings, upload, download files, change the LCD. The only problem with that is it only worked on one device, which is kind of where I took it to the next level. That and it's Windows-based. I couldn't get the C libraries to compile anymore. There's also the SNMP getter, the admin password, and host files, client-side exploits off your printers. Yeah, that's a great idea. So now that we've got all this kind of background knowledge on these printers and their various capabilities and things like that, you make it into a cloud, because that's really good, right? That's one of those magic management buzzwords. So I decided to sit here and write some code. I give you PrintFS. Yeah. So this is proof of concept code. Yes, it functions mostly. It'll completely function by the time I release it. PrintFS, it's a Python tool for using covert file systems using HP printers. Subset of that is the PPGL support library. I essentially rewrote most of that C library that no longer compiled in Python, so it'll pretty much run on anything. Really, really well documented. You can expand it, do whatever the heck you want with it. We've got the PrintFS scanner, which is really kind of cool, and we'll go into more later. This is actually how I determine whether or not a printer is capable of supporting files. Then you've got PrintJack, which is a support tool for just doing nasty, funny things. PrintFS itself, so you take all your printers, take, for example, the ones that, hotel registration. They had like 6 or 7 of them. So we simply aggregate all of the storage across them, keep a nice little list of everything, I've got X amount of space here, X amount of space, X, so on and so forth. Keeps track of it locally and will allow you to store files across all of them. We actually determine this by scanning via the PFS scanner. Uses a printer disk, physical disks, file storage, so on and so forth. Works on any supported printer via the local network or the internet. Now this is really kind of interesting. Most people wouldn't think how many printers there are in the internet that you can actually hit over 9100. You'd be really, really surprised. I've seen 20, 30 devices of that. 16 to 17 of them were supported. There was a gig of storage spread across 5 different continents. Kind of interesting. All store files, when they're compressed, encrypted, and then stored under random file names. That's really just because I had a lot of fun when I was writing this. So there are some slight limitations, and we'll get into that more later, but it was just something fun to do. You get your local file table, creates the keys when it encrypts them, stores the locations of where they're at, and the device is used for storage. One of the things I ran into, because you're largely storing into these RAM disks, is that if somebody reboots the device, hey, it jammed and I have to shut it off, turn it back on, you lose all your files. So one of the ways to get around that was to put the file in multiple locations. If I was actually to go back at a later date, had I been smart when I actually designed this thing, I would have actually split the file up and chunked it over multiple devices. Instead, for just this, I'm uploading the whole device. So all files obviously stored twice. They each get random keys, each get random file names. So even if you actually dump from multiple devices, you compare the two of them, good luck figuring out what it is. Here's the actual PrintFS commands. You've got your basic help, your user interface, data, so you can actually have multiple quote-unquote data files. The data file itself is basically the mastered file table, for lack of a better term. So you can rename it and load up multiples. And then, of course, list is how you actually access the scanner. You just hand it a list of IP addresses, and it goes out and does all sorts of magic things and has fun. Actual commands. So here we are actually using the tool. And if I could actually read my own slides at this point. But you've got your help, your get, which will go out and get your file names, put, which will put file names. So it's very much like a basic TFTP interface. Add addresses, which means you can trigger the scanner just with a single address if you wanted to add something at a later date. You can remove addresses. You can dump all the devices and their IP addresses and their model numbers in case you're actually curious to see which models are supported. What else we got? Remove file names. Panic mode. Panic mode is just kind of funny. So one of the things I determined when I was actually messing around with the SNMP stuff is that you can actually remotely reboot these devices. You hit panic mode, it'll go out, it'll rip through the entire file table, remotely reboot all the devices, and bye-bye file system. Bye-bye files, bye-bye evidence. PDB is just kind of a internal debug that I left in there in case anyone was interested, because this is proof of concept code. It'll actually drop you to a full Python debugger interpreter, and you can mess with it however you see fit. Here we go. Actually using it. The stats command itself, it supports bytes, megabytes, kilobytes, and gigabytes, and yes, you actually will get gigs of storage. In this particular case, we've got 6 printers that are offering me about 500 megs worth of storage. And then anyone who knows me knows I really love cars, and I'm a diehard Mustang fan, so here we are storing images on the printers, going out, retrieving them, encrypting them, decrypting them. Kind of cool. So here's where it actually starts kind of getting interesting. The PFS scanner itself, I had a lot of fun writing. It's multi-threaded, so it'll go out, you give it a list of, say, 50 IP addresses. It'll start scanning 30 of them immediately. Goes out, and it's completely randomized. So one of the fun things I had doing was just to see how much of a pain I could be to the IDS folks. Goes through, and if anyone's actually interested, I'll be more than happy to show you the code, but it keeps a list of all the functions that actually have to be run. Randomly shuffles them around, says, okay, I'm going to run this in order, and this one, and this one, and this one. The idea being that if you were to compare network traffic between one scan on one printer and one scan on another printer, it's not going to look similar. Throughout the whole thing, we've got random sleeps. My personal favorite function would be the narcolepsy function. The upload files themselves are random data given random names of random size. So the idea being that you can't really write a rule to test for it. The entire scan, once again, peppered with random sleeps of random duration. Mainly, it's really just to see, how hard can this be to actually detect. There are some downsides to it, though. The PPGL, which is the main support library that all of this is built off of, implements most of the documented PGL commands. I really only use the ones that I found to be kind of interesting and useful to me. If anyone else, wants to continue this further, the whole thing is really, really, really well documented. In fact, some of the functions actually have more documentation than they actually do code. Contains 2 classes. There's the dynamic class, which opens up a new connection for each command, and the static class, which keeps the connection open for all commands. And there's really a big reason why I went ahead and did that. When I was messing around with this, I noticed that when you actually connect to the device, they can only sustain one connection at a time, which means nobody else can use it, which is kind of a problem when you start aggregating all these devices into big storage things. Now nobody can print. I can't read that. Yeah, exactly. Anyways, the dynamic class solves this by opening up a new connection for every command and then immediately closing that. The downside to it is it's extremely loud, generates a lot of traffic. It is what it is. PrintJack is the support tool for PrintFS. This is the part where I said most of the code functions. I should learn to not go anywhere near a terminal window when I've been drinking. Or sober, for that matter. Cute. My friends, everybody. So anyways, where were we? Yes, support tool. Once again, kind of taking the idea of hijatter to a whole new level. Mass control panel lock, unlock, RAM disk lock, unlock, LCD message update, mass printing. Pure black pages, toner's cheap, right? I think somebody else had an idea for that with the Scientology folks. This also happens to be the user interface to the PGL password scanner, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So due to the poor economy and the fact that I couldn't actually get enough printers to do some really, really live demos, I'm just going to hope everyone can imagine this showing up on all of the printers in their enterprise. I like ShmooCon. I think doing this is required. Yeah, kind of funny. Once again, if I somehow offended you with that last particular slide, you can talk to the complaint department located between your index finger and your ring finger. I don't even know how to respond to that. If you can't find it, let me help you. So, the PrintJack internals. PPGL pass, once again, something that I really had fun writing. It's the support class for password cracking, although if you actually know enough Python, you can go down, you can actually run it by itself. You just have to kind of hand edit the code to point to the correct file, a list of IPs. It'll brute force through all the possible PGL passwords. One of the things I found that when I was messing around with this, that the 5000 series device just happened to be the one I picked at random. I was able to test all possible password combinations in about 2 hours, which sounds kind of fast, but I figured you could do it faster. So we threaded it and designed it with the assumption that admins are lazy, you know, because it's not like they don't use the same password on all the devices. So adding more printers speeds up the cracking time. Basically what it does is all the threads will sit there and talk to each other, and as it runs through, if one thread finds a password, immediately goes through, tells all the other threads, they immediately go and try it, and then just splits up the entire password space across all the devices to speed it up. Means you can go through the whole thing in about 4 minutes. Known supported models for this kind of fun. If anyone's interested, I'll be more than happy to share this. This is not an exhaustive list by any stretch of the imagination. I assume it is much, much, much higher. This is just what I had to play with in a very small kind of area. Yeah, I kind of do it to myself. So, other fun things that you could do with PPGL and the libraries and all the code that I'll be releasing and everything else like that. Mass reboot loop, I think that'd be kind of funny. If you were to actually connect to all the devices in a given environment on port 9100 and then just not do anything, they'll all just sit there. They won't release. Every once in a while it'll terminate, but you can sit there in the code and just have it reconnect. Mass printer attacks, any message to the LCD of all printers, i.e. maybe some social engineering. Animated LCD messages, and this is one of those things where I really wish I had a printer to show this, but this is really kind of funny. If I can get it to show my window here. Once again, you'll have to imagine this running on all the printers in your given environment. Stupid. Yeah, I know. It's complicated. I don't believe in Max. So, yeah. Rafflecopters dropping roller skaters. This is really, really funny to watch. At least I thought so. We had one that was the penis, and I kind of get yelled at for it, but that was also funny to watch. So, yeah, picture that running on all the printers in your environment. I hate you guys. Screw you guys. I'm going home. So yeah, animated LCD messages, mass raw printing, sit there and work through all their toner cartridges, mass disk lock, unlock, mass control lock, control panel lock, unlock. There are some limitations to this tool. You can, yeah, well, that's obvious. Not genius, dumbass, Exactly. Shut up. There are no misspelled variables in this one. Oh, you tested it, sure? I think so. Of course, now I'm going to have to explain that one. Long story short, the last time I did a talk, I had a misspelled variable in the code that totally borked like half my demos. So I will never live that down. So anyways, tool limitations. You can only upload files from the directory that you're actually running PrintFS from. That's easily fixable. I've just been lazy and I didn't care. Known issues. For some odd reason, when PrintFS rips through and it actually scans these devices, sometimes if they decide that they're offline, and they may completely be supported, they just won't respond. I ran into this way late in the game and just didn't have time to actually go back and try to figure out why. I'm sure it's perfectly fixable. I'll release the code, and I'm sure somebody will send me a patch, and everything will be hunky-dory. Once again, and this is what I was talking about earlier, to ensure that the devices can still print while people are actually using them, I use the dynamic class. The downside to this is it generates a shitload of traffic. So it might be a possible detection method on your network for it. It is a very, very loud tool. And just in case anyone cares, who am I? Yeah, Textile. Thank you, Romer. Aircrack NG dev team, security contracting. You can email me if you feel so inclined. What? Aircrack NG team. Yeah, well. Aircrack. I don't have Twitter. I don't believe in it. I think it's just this mass hallucination. It doesn't exist. As for actually where I'll be releasing the code, I will be releasing this to the remoteexploit.org within the next week or so. It really boils down to I have no time, and I need to find a safe internet connection and actually clean up a few minor things before I actually release this. So stay tuned, check it out, and this will be up there shortly. Would that make you happy? I know that's your homepage. That, Goatsy, and what's the other one? Meatspin. Yeah, that's that one.
Lemon Party can see into the future. That's why you're there.
Questions at this point? Anyone? Bueller? Yes, I can read back from the disk, obviously. So his question was, you can write to the disk. Can you read back from it?
Okay, I'm sorry. Can you read print data?
You know, ultimately, that is what I was actually trying to do when I got into all of this. Most of the devices actually have a directory, if you go several trees down, where that's stored. The problem is it's write only. It's not read. I never could manage to get access into it. There is another researcher, I think based out of Russia, who's been working with that types of things, and he's actually trying to rework the firmware right now to do kind of a store and forward thing. So I think at this point it's only a matter of time. Rummer.
Does it only work with the enterprise printers, or will it also work with like the home printers?
You know, he wanted to know if it only worked with the enterprise printers or whether or not it would work with some of the desk jets or things along those lines. It really depends on how much memory the thing has. Most of the ones I had to play with were the enterprise ones, built-in network cards. The big MFPs, which I think somebody was talking about these earlier, that are finding their way into the enterprise but are really designed for home, those are the ones that have the really big hard drives. So yeah, I'd say there's a good chance that you can find it.
What's an MFP?
Multi-function printer, you idiot.
I had no idea either.
He wanted to know what an MFP is. Yes, Nick.
Will your tool work on devices that support PPGLs like Xerox's?
You know, if you weren't so short, the sound would carry better. So, he wanted to know if it would support the PPGL and things like Xerox's. Based on my testing, it seemed like HP is the only one that seems to implement the full subset of all their commands. Some of them, it seems like the other manufacturers will implement parts of it, and other parts they'll just completely ignore. So it really just boils down to testing. I haven't had enough device access to actually figure it out. I'm sure people will come, hopefully, and tell me when I release all this and say, hey, it works on this too. Any other questions?
What does flat mean?
Yeah, no. No.
How many of the API calls that PY Scanner makes occur in possibly different orders in the course of regular print jobs?
Well, and see, that's the funny thing. He wanted to know how many of the actual commands that I'm abusing actually occur in a regular day-to-day basis. Based on what I've been able to determine, the actual FS upload and FS download were created to allow storing of font files on the devices. So there is a legitimate chance of those being used. Once again, the directory listing and things like that. I don't have enough network traffic to actually go and say, okay, you're going to see this X amount of times during the day, but those are all legitimately perfectly used commands. So your chances of false positive, if you're going to sit there and write IDS rules for those exact commands, are pretty high.
What about detecting the actual amount of traffic you're using? Kind of like what he's saying. So,
You're talking about detecting and doing thresholding on it.
well, sort of, like not really threshold, exactly threshold, kind of, I guess, but like with flow. So, like, say, how often does this traffic like actually occur over time? What, Nick? You asking him a question?
Sorry, he was talking in my ear. Say it again. Really? Really? Why am I being punished?
No, so like, what he was saying was, I think what he was asking is, can we actually look at all of the traffic or all the traffic that your thing's creating over time, and like, kind of detect it with NetFlow rather than individual IDS signatures? So not just on like an individual packet, but the amount of traffic that happens from the tool.
That is actually entirely possible. He had it on a mic. Shut up. To be honest, I've never actually tried. I'd be really, really curious to see if somebody was willing to actually go out and try that and let me know how that works out. But I don't see why you couldn't. It does generate a lot of traffic. Anything else? Anyone? Bueller? Yeah. Sweet. If anyone has any other questions that pops in.
What's in your bag?
What bag?
Repeat the question.
Apparently the audio doesn't work. Oh well. Thank you. I appreciate it.